Faithful in the prison. Before this story, we learned of Joseph's success as a slave. Everything Joseph put his hand to succeeded and thrived, so much so that he became the overseer of Potiphar's household. Yet Potiphar's wife's lust towards Joseph would not cease, and eventually she lured him in to sleep with her. Joseph ran from her, but she still claimed Joseph attacked her. Joseph was thrown into prison, but God blessed him, and he became the overseer of all prisoners. Now we learn about Joseph's interpretation of dreams, and how he ascended from prison to the palace of Pharaoh, inspired by the book of Genesis. Joseph had become a great blessing to the prison. Out of darkness and despair, God blessed Joseph in everything he did. He worked with care and diligence, becoming loved and respected by the prisoners and guards. During this time, Pharaoh's cupbearer and baker had committed an offense against him, so he sent them to prison to rot until death. The captain of the guard appointed Joseph to be with them and attend to them. One night, tossing and turning could be heard in the darkness of the prison cells. Groans and a few screams echoed in the middle of the night, for the cupbearer and baker were bothered all night with confusing dreams. That morning they were discussing what their dreams might mean, and Joseph came to them when he saw they were troubled. "Why are you two so downcast this morning?" Joseph asked with compassion in his voice. "We have had dreams, and have no one to say what they might mean," they said, tired from the night before. Joseph grinned, remembering the dreams he once had as a boy. He looked at the two of them with a shepherd's heart. "Do not dreams belong to God?" Joseph said. "Tell them to me." The cupbearer told his dream first. He spoke with a mixture of joy, confusion, and anxiety. "In my dream there was a beautiful vine before me with 3 branches. As soon as the branches budded, blossoms shot forth and ripened into grapes." The cupbearer looked at Joseph intently as he continued. "I took the grapes and pressed them into Pharaoh's cup and handed it to him. Then I awoke." Joseph grinned, eyes never leaving the cupbearers. He said to him, "The 3 branches represent 3 days. In 3 days Pharaoh will restore you to his side, and you will be his cupbearer once again." The cupbearer gleamed with joy. Joseph grabbed his shoulder and spoke intently. "Please remember me when you are back with Pharaoh. Tell him about me, my gifts, and my story." The cupbearer nodded and agreed. The baker was pleased to hear such a positive interpretation. Excited, he caught Joseph's attention to tell him his dream. "In my dream, there were 3 cake baskets balancing on my head. On the top basket was food for Pharaoh, but the birds flocked around me and ate the food in the basket. What does this mean?" Joseph's eyes did not meet the baker's. "You do not need to know," Joseph said. The baker, now worried, was intent on hearing. Joseph sighed and spoke somberly, saying, "The 3 baskets also represent 3 days. In 3 days, Pharaoh will take you as well, but he will have you hung on a tree, and the birds will eat your flesh." Angry and scared, the baker left. 3 days had passed, and it was Pharaoh's birthday. A great festival had taken place throughout the land, and a great feast was prepared for all his servants. In need of his services, Pharaoh sent for his cupbearer and restored him to his position. Yet the baker was not as fortunate. He was hung that day, just as Joseph had predicted. Caught up in the festivities, the cupbearer forgot the kindness Joseph had shown him. Forgotten, Joseph remained in prison, wondering if his father and brothers had forgotten about him too. Joseph's heart grew heavy, but his hope in God did not wane. He pressed on, praying to see the sun once again.